talking about today are the 5 networking mistakes most real estate investors make. All right. If you're here live, make sure to introduce yourself, your name, where you're from. This is a marketing Facebook page, so make sure you market yourself below and let everybody know who you are. So let's get started. What are some 5 mistakes or no-nos or things that real estate investors get wrong when they are networking? Okay, so for almost 2 decades, one of the biggest things I've done is network. And through these past 2 decades, different markets, different locations, I've been able to see and capture why some real estate investors are really good at networking and some just need to work on it or learn how to do it better. All right. So the first thing we'll talk about is basically placing limitations on, where you network or how you network. Okay. So let me get a little bit more in depth about that. So basically limiting where you network, that's a huge one. Okay. A lot of people just say, okay, I'm just going to go to this one RIA meeting, or I'm just going to network online, or I'm just going to call investors. Okay. So there's no diversity in the real estate investors networking capabilities, okay, or outreach. And that can be a really big mistake because, once you start going consistently to one networking event, what you're going to see really quickly is you're going to see and meet the same people over and over and over again. And although you're networking, your network is still staying a little small, okay? It's still small versus you expanding your networking circle. So one of the biggest advice that I have is basically, really diversify how you network, where you network, okay? Some examples of this would be your local RIA, live events, okay? Let's talk about live events. There is nothing better in terms of connecting and networking than live in person, getting to see the person, getting to feel, the connection, their energy, their vibe, as everybody calls it right today. So just, seeing if your synergies work right away. If you connect with someone in person at at live events, it's usually you're either hitting it off or you're not, right? So it's very important to do that because sometimes when things start off on the phone, you don't really get to know each other until you meet in person, right? So that could take a little bit of time. So I believe that live events really speed up connections in terms of networking, okay? So kind of like dating, right? When you call with someone or text with someone on your online apps, right? It's not until you meet them that you can figure out if you have a connection or not, okay? Same kind of thing. All right. So, one thing is starting to diversify your live events, start going to more live events, start going to bigger live events. I can't stress enough to you how important it is to not kind of pigeonhole yourself just to your local groups as well. Your state groups and national events, those are so important. Not only do you network, but you also can get new ideas, get really energetic, it could really skyrocket your business. One idea can skyrocket your business. And a lot of times that's people getting comfortable, by getting uncomfortable, right? So you just but that's how you grow as an entrepreneur and a person as well. All right. And one quick note as well, last week, I uploaded a video last Thursday on the REI marketing success habits, the 1% versus the 99%. What are the habits and rituals of people who are, wealthy versus the remaining population? And one of the biggest, differences with habits and rituals were your network. Okay, your network. And I did another video. Again, you can go back and look at all these weekly trainings on just what separates the high net worth individual real estate investors and everybody else. And that was their marketing, right? And I'll say it and I'll say it again. The most successful and wealthiest real estate investors are the best marketers who consider themselves marketers. They know they're just, real estate investing is their chosen profession. But if you want to crack the code, cracking the code is ultra high net worth individuals. We know that marketing your real estate investing businesses is what you're really doing. Because if nobody knows that you exist, you're not going to be doing business and making money, right? I hope that was an aha moment for a lot of people on this call. All right, so I'm going to subcategorize that even more. The wealthiest people are the best marketers, who therefore are the best networkers. And another point I made last week, again, I highly recommend you watch the video, is that not only is your network good for getting deals, getting money, business, but it's also good with, kind of getting you over obstacles. Ultra high net worth individuals and wealthy people and people who have a big network of, important people allow you to get over obstacles quickly. So for example, if you're getting a speed bump in your marketing, right? You have kind of 2 or 3 choices here. You can try to Google and figure it out yourself in terms of your marketing, just try to get yourself over the speed bump so you can get your marketing out the door. Let's just say direct mail. You don't know where to get a certain list, or you don't know which fulfillment company to use, and you're doing all this due diligence, and then you ultimately end up getting fear or paralysis of analysis. I'm sure that sounds familiar, right? Or what high net worth individuals do is we open up our, digital online Rolodex nowadays. And what do? We make a call. People who are in my network, right, will email me, call me, text me and say, hey, Marina, do you prefer this fulfillment company? Do you think handwriting an envelope or labels are better for this list? Do you think this or this? The person who has the specialized knowledge, will give you the answer and allow you to get over that obstacle and speed bump faster. People who have certain skill sets and specialized knowledge or things that you are looking for, if you have them in your network, they're an easy phone call to make, okay? Versus you trying to figure it out on your own, okay? It just fast tracks you over obstacles and speed bumps. And what is entrepreneurship? You've seen the graphs, up and down, up and down. That's what it is. You're going up and down. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you start building a big network of people who will allow you to get over those low dips faster, you will grow and scale faster as well. Okay. So stop placing limitations on networking and think big, and start going to local live events, state live events, big live events on things you want to know, but also want to get to learn about. Try to reach out online. I'll tell you right now, pick up the phone and call investors in your area, or whatever you're looking to do in terms of networking, finding money. Pick up your phone, and start calling people. That's important as well. With my business partner, the reason we became business partners is, for over a year, we were just kind of doing deals, networking, masterminding together. And then after a year, we kind of ended up being partners. And the reason was, he ended up calling me at least once a month. He had a consistent system where he would pick up the phone and connect with me at least once a month, no matter what. He knew I was somebody doing business in my area, and we ended up connecting, forming a relationship, and partnering. So, things like that could lead to bigger things. And another thing to take note as well, in terms of your outreach and making sure it's a big outreach, is that sometimes relationships take time. So a lot of times with your network, things can happen really fast, or relationships don't come into fruition until a little, 6 months later, 3 months later, a year later, 3 years later, whatever it is. So that's why it's important to expand your outreach, because you might need certain people right away, or certain people might come into fruition later on down the line. So that's number one. Don't place limitations on your networking. Get out there, get comfortable getting uncomfortable. And as an entrepreneur, marketing yourself and your real estate business is one of the number one things that will grow your wealth. Okay, it's the handshakes that will get you to certain areas faster than, books sometimes, right? Obviously, learning certain things is important, and that's part of entrepreneurship. But the other part of it is how many hands you shake, how many calls you make, how many dinners you have, how many lunches you have, how many walks you go on, how many texts you send. Okay, and those things matter. So do not place limitations on those things. All right. So number two. Furthermore on those, when you are starting to network, one of the biggest mistakes that I see, especially again, if you're a rookie or beginner, hear me on this. It's a big mistake that people make. Okay. It's taking and not giving. Okay. Or taking and not receiving. And it's, one of my number one pet peeves, and you can write this down because I know it's a lot of high net worth individuals' pet peeve, is when somebody calls, texts, emails me, or comes to me in person and says, I want to meet with you because I want to pick your brain. I know. It should irk you as well. If it irks you, hashtag irk on the comments. But what you're saying by I want to pick your brain is you want to be taking. You're not giving anything. So why would a high net worth individual want to spend their time with somebody who wants to pick their brain, right? So it's very important for you to start, presenting yourself in a way where you're giving and not taking as much, especially initially, because again, like I just told you, a lot of these take time to come into fruition. Okay. So picking someone's brain, just get it, cross it off. Do not ever say that again. Another way, like, let me give you an example. Another way you can ask somebody for lunch to quote, literally pick their brain, if that's really your goal, is say something like, especially someone like me who's been in the business for so long, right? You can go up to them at any networking event and say, hey, listen, I really admire your business, what you have done, whatever it is, you really admire this person for X reason, their business, them, whatever it is for one reason or another, right? I would love if we could meet up for a lunch or a quick coffee because I would really love to know your story. How did you start the business? What were some hurdles you got over? I would love to get to know you better and know kind of your story and just, how you were able to go from this to that, right? Somebody like me who's been in the business for 20 years and, is successful in my own right? I would be like, yeah, I would love to sit down and tell you my story. And anybody in that position, we love telling our stories. If you're a seasoned investor, there is nothing you love. I'm sure you get this with like your mom, dad, grandparents. Everybody loves to tell you their story. So one great example I'm going to give you, instead of picking somebody's brain, ask them to sit down and, I would love to hear your story, how you got started. I really admire that you went from this to this, if you really know the person, right? So that's like a great tip for you to transition, instead of taking that from that person, for you to, give as well. You're putting it on them. Like, I want you to tell me your story. I'm so, admiring you, or whatever it is. There's other ways to say it as well. Or you could say, I love what you did with that rehab at 17 Dorr Street. Is there any way we could get a coffee and you could tell me just about the deal, and if any hurdles you had through the deal? I would really love to get to know the story behind this property. That's a lot different than I want to pick your brain, right? So that's very important when you're in a networking situation. And I'll tell you right now, I know right away if somebody wants something from me, right? So if somebody's coming and they want something from me right away, that kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth too, in terms of, okay, what do you want? Okay. Like, so just, try to present yourself in a way where you're genuinely interested and authentic in the way you come across when you're networking, especially with seasoned individuals. Even if you're not seasoned, you don't have to get to know the person's story. You can see specific deals, whatever it is, the examples I just gave you. But just make sure you're number one, not weird, okay? Because that can, being weird, fanning out, or, just freezing, you have to work on that. If that's something you have to work on, you work on it. practice it, role play, whatever you need to do to practice going up to people, shaking their hand, looking someone in the eye, or calling them and having good introductions. By all means, do that, okay? Because the second you make somebody else uncomfortable, they're going to remember that, because remember, that's a first impression as well. All right. So start, remember, number 2 is taking and not giving as much. Okay. So let's move on to number 3. Number 3 is not using social media. Okay. So one of the biggest things I see is people not using social media enough for networking. Okay. I can't even stress to you how many people I have networked with, reached out to me, I have reached out with, and we have done business just off social media based on their post or you posting. The beauty of social media is that it is a free site for your marketing. It's amazing. It's just a matter of committing and getting over any fears you have. Okay. If you're in the business, social media should be one of your number 1 tools for presenting your services in a way where people are eager to work with you. And that's not just for motivated sellers, right? Because most of your leads aren't going to come from your social media, right? They're going to come from other forms of marketing. But guess what? A ton of your leads for private money, for finding contractor referrals, for buyers, they're going to come from social media and you posting. So I can't stress enough how much, you're leaving money on the table, literally raising money on the table by not using your social media. The number 1 way that I find private investors is from my Facebook posts. Some people are like, Facebook's dead. No, it's not. I recently posted live for my marketing students, and I got 2 private investors. Collectively, they had $100,000 to give. And 2 months later, I had another person say, hey, I saw that old post. Can we meet? And I have a meeting coming up with that person. I don't know how much money they have to lend, but once it's on social media, it's on there forever, which is amazing. So do not ignore social media. Make sure you utilize social media. Make sure you have a consistent plan to use social media, because as of right now, it's free, which is incredible. Okay. It is a free service. And not only is it a free service, it's a free service for your marketing departments. So do not ignore it. If you're fearful of it, there are many trainings that you can take to make you less fearful of it. Okay. There are many, you can hire someone to do your social media for you, right? You just have to get over, again, that obstacle. And don't ignore it, because the networking capabilities with social media are so powerful and could lead to, hundreds and thousands and even millions in dollars if you use it the right way. So please do not ignore it. So number 1 was don't place limitations on where and how you network. Number 2 was when you are networking, make sure you're giving, you're servicing, not just taking and, picking people's brains. Number 3 is, utilize social media. The people who are not utilizing social media are, just not out, it's a worldwide outreach with social media. Ignoring it is going to keep you small. So I know there's a lot of fears of putting yourself out there on social media, but there's also a lot of trainings and teachings and learning that skill that can get you over that hump as well. Don't ask how you can do it. Ask who can help you get there. Okay. If you're fearful of something or you don't know something, you're going to have paralysis of analysis figuring out how to do it when there's so many people who have done it and can teach you or can do it for you. Okay. Very powerful message. All right. So okay. So these next 2 are probably the most important. Okay. So number 4 is, and this is so important, excuse me, is not following up. Okay. I just told you a little earlier how I became partners with one of my partners. Okay. The fortune is in the follow-up. It's great meeting people at these events, but if you don't have a follow-up system, it's like you didn't meet them, right? You can't really, what following up allows you to do is nurture that relationship and build that relationship. So when the time comes for you to get over an obstacle, to do business with somebody, to raise money, to find whatever it is, to use a person for your business as a referral or networking, is they're there and you're not coming out of the blue again. Hey, I met you a year ago at this big event. How you doing? Are you interested in lending? Right? Versus you being, in their faces one way or another. Let me give you some examples of how you can follow up. Following up, there's many ways you can follow up. Number one is your database, your CRM, your, whatever CRM you have. When you meet someone at a networking event, you should get their name, email, phone number, okay? And put them in your database. And in your database, you should have a good follow-up system. It can be a 12-month follow-up system. And the cool thing about CRMs is you can do hybrid follow-up systems. So you can have a 12-month email, call, and SMS text follow-up sequence where you set it up, and once a month, they either get an email, a call, or a text from you, right? Nurturing that relationship. If you do not want to do that, the best advice I'm going to give you and the easiest way to nurture your networking relationships is start a monthly newsletter, because they're still getting something from you monthly, okay? The follow-up sequence is going to be more specific in terms of, hey, how you doing? Just checking up on you. Hey, I was thinking about you. I'm looking for a multifamily, just wondering if you have one, right? That's more specific. A monthly newsletter allows you to, get know, and trust. They obviously get to know you at these events or through calls or through social media, but you putting them on your monthly newsletter allows them to get to like you and ultimately trust you to work together. So if you're not going to have an actual very specific email follow-up sequence for your network, for your networking people, or tags or labels or contacts, then I highly recommend you start a monthly newsletter, and that's where you put them, because they're still getting touched from you once a month, okay? Either way, at least once a month, they should be getting something from you, either in an email, SMS, call, whatever it is, okay? The fortune is in the follow-up. Not only is it in the follow-up, it's in the nurture and the like, know, trust, okay? So the more you touch these people once a month, your contacts, you're nurturing them, you're creating a relationship with them, that when the time comes for you to actually work with them, it's so important. I'm going to share my screen and give you a really quick example of just how I follow up with my, so here's an example. So for networking, again, you can do one of two things, okay? So in my $1 Million Marketing backend, I stress on, this is a weekly Trello board. Everything you see here in terms of the major categories, you're doing once a week, right? So Monday's direct mail, Tuesday is free marketing, Wednesday is email, Thursday is our networking day, okay? So on Thursdays, you are literally dedicating all of your Thursday to calling, texting, emailing, planning events for the week, for the year, for the quarter, for the month. So your Thursdays, networking is such an important topic and category that I created a category all by itself. So what you're doing is essentially focusing one full day on networking. That's how important it is, okay? So there's two ways that you can, network, which is number one, dedicate a whole day where you're doing everything, nurturing them with an email, call, text, calls, and planning all your events. Or while you're going through all your days, on your email and CRM day, you're creating a monthly newsletter. That's where you're putting your contacts, whatever it is. Or, on your online and digital marketing days, social media, you're focusing on networking in that capacity. Either way, once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, you are nurturing, touching, following up with your existing contacts. Okay. Now that was number 4, basically following up. One of the biggest mistakes I see, if not the biggest, I'll tell you what one of my biggest, it's kind of a hybrid of not following up, right? So one of the biggest mistakes I see is not following up with your existing network. Okay. So number 1 is simply lack of consistency. And that kind of goes hand in hand with not following up. Okay. I'll tell you something right now. The consistency, write this down, consistency compounds. What separates the high net worth individuals and the remaining population? Consistency. Okay. I'm telling you that's one of the number 1. And what is consistency really? If you were to break down consistency, that would require you to be a disciplined person with good habits who is dedicated to doing something over and over and over and over and over again. Okay. Consistency or lack of consistency can kill your relationship with your existing network, or it can nurture it where you're making a fortune from it. Okay. So I would have to say one of the biggest mistakes, and this is why I created this whole $1 million marketing back-end marketing department. This allows you to consistently, I say it's working your Trello board, basically working your marketing department. Every single day, you're hyper-focused on one part of your marketing department. And these things do not take the whole day to do. You just put on your calendar for 1.5 hours during this time frame in your calendar is my networking for my marketing. Here's the thing. Let's do some math. You call 5 investors. I'm going to whip out my calculator here too. You call 5 investors a week. How many is that a month? 5 times 4, 20, right? 20 times 52. Oops. You're reaching out to 1,040, or it could be the same people. You're reaching out to 1,040 investors, contractors, attorneys, whatever it is. Do you think that 1,040 contacts or calls might change your business? So the question I'm going to pose to you that I pose every week, why are you not doing it? And you can write below in the comments, what is holding you back from networking, from making these calls, from going to these events, from putting them up in a follow-up system? Because these things matter, because it is not a secret that your network is your net worth anymore, okay? It's not a secret, okay? However, what systems do you have in place to make sure that your network is nurtured? That's the big question. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end our call. I'm going to read you a story. It's called, not a story. Yeah, it's a story. It's a story on adaptability versus consistency. Okay. It's very important. So stick with me for a minute. All right. So here's the deal. In 1911, 2 evenly matched teams competed to be the first European explorers to make it to the South Pole. One team, led by Robert Falcon Scott, decided to adapt their strategy to the weather. On good weather days, they would march up to 60 miles. On bad weather days, they would rest and recharge. While the other team, led by Roald Amundsen, marched 20 miles a day, rain or shine, in any weather and under any circumstances. Every day they kept going for exactly 20 miles. All right. So which team won? Why don't you put in the comments, which team won? Who do you think? I want to know. Do you think the adaptability team that was weather-based won? Or do you think that the consistency team won? Let me know. I'm going to check the comments. All right. So I'm going to tell you. So who won? Conventional wisdom would say the adaptability team, right? Makes sense. Why would you march in bad weather? Unfortunately, that's wrong. Roald Amundson's, I'm sorry if I'm butchering the name, team, the one who marched 20 miles a day, no matter what, reached the South Pole first. And listen to this, while Robert Falcon Scott's team was found dead before they made it home. This is a sad story, but it's a powerful story, okay? Because it shows the power of consistency. I'm sure you have heard grow or die, right? My thing is keep moving or die, right? Every single day. The reason I have made this system is because I know that the importance of hyper-focusing on your marketing in these 6-7 major categories to catapult your business to success, okay? And it's like I told you earlier, it is not a secret anymore that networking is the key to success, okay? I know a lot of investors who just rely on network. I don't agree on that, I think you should diversify. But there are two things that I stress in my marketing program: consistency and diversity. The more diverse you are in your marketing campaigns and your strategy and your plan, and the more consistent and disciplined and grit you have, that's the game changer in this business. So I'm going to go to questions. Let me see. All right. Good morning, Kathleen. Oh, Bob McIntosh on the call. I love it. Actually, Bob, I would love to have you on one of these Thursday calls, so DM me for sure. All right. Bob says he loves the blouse. Thank you. Always dropping fire. Marketing is key. He knows it best. All right. I'll drop his Facebook group handle in the comments as well. So here's the deal. Get out there, get networking consistently. Make sure you have a follow-up system. Don't be weird. I know I shouldn't be saying that, but I am, because some people are. So work on it if you are. Use your social media and make sure that, you're not placing limitations. Start getting out there. Expand your outreach. I will promise you, you will see a big change in your business when you do that. Because the reality is, I want you to find your dream deals, and I want you to start, having habits and rituals of high net worth individuals, and having discipline and having consistency, because all of that will compound, okay, and get you your dream deals and get you where you want to be